Hi everyone, welcome back to the garden. It is Saturday afternoon. I have a glass of rosé and ice and I need to pick some of my strawberry guavas. So some of these are getting ready now and I need to make sure that I'm picking them before other critters do. So these are going to be continuously ripening over the next few weeks, probably even months, because there's still flowers on here. So I'm going to get a lot of fruit off this tree. So I think I'm going to freeze them, and then once I get a big bag full I can make something with them. So I'm thinking of trying out some fruit leather and maybe even some guava jelly or jam. The only thing is that they have really hard seeds inside, so they've got really hard seed inside. I usually just eat them fresh off the tree as garden snacks, but now that my tree is getting larger, I'm getting a lot more fruit off it, and I need to keep on top of the harvests so it doesn't attract lots of birds and rats to my garden. So we're going to have to come up with some interesting recipes to make something delicious with these. So if you've never tried strawberry guava before, they are a little bit sour, a little bit bitter and sweet. Alright, so we have picked a big bowl of guavas. Some of them are not quite ripe, but I'd rather pick them now than attract more critters. So there are still some on the plant that aren't ripe, but those will be ready over the next few days, so I'll be out here picking guavas pretty much every day. And they do fall off the tree when they are ready and ripe, so that's not ideal for me either, because I do have lush ground covers all underneath my fruit trees. So there are obviously pros and cons with having edible ground covers under your fruit trees. One of the cons is that you can't see all the fruit that's dropping, and I'm not too worried about that because I'm just out here picking as I go, and there's plenty to go around. And to me it's far more important that I have the ground covers to keep the moisture in out here, because this garden grows so lush by itself because of these edible ground covers. So yeah, you just have to weigh up the pros and cons, and for me it works, whereas for other people it doesn't. And also they get worried about the snakes hiding in there, which of course terrifies me as well, but thankfully, touch wood, have some elderberries that I need to pick as well. So we're going to just move along a little bit further, pick some elderberries. Okay, so of course all of the ripe elderberries are over the back, right at the top. So I'm gonna have to go and get a stool and try and climb up there and catch some. Okay, so we've got a big bowl of elderflowers and elderberries. No idea what I'm going to do with these, but we will see. I've actually kind of decided whilst doing that I think I'm going to remove that whole tree. I just cut a lot of it back, but it's just like such a vigorous growing plant, and I don't yeah, I just don't think it's my cup of tea. So maybe tomorrow I might remove it, and I'm not going to completely get rid of this. I'm going to take some cuttings and put it in a pot. My thoughts are with this is making elderflower syrup and elderberry syrup, because you do need to cook these. So a quick little afternoon haul of some berries from the backyard fence. Good morning everyone, it is Monday, a fresh new week, and it's going to be a very busy week for me. So I have my live podcast launching on Wednesday, which is in a couple of days. So I've got some work to do on that. I've got some membership work to do, and I have lots of gardening work to do because it's been so hot in the garden. I don't have as much time out there. So we're going to do a few little jobs this morning while it's slightly cooler. Outside, and then I can come inside and do all of the inside stuff later on when it's too hot to be outside. So I did actually get through a whole lot of jobs over the weekend that I didn't film because I just got carried away. I started doing one thing and led to another, and then I ended up just like pulling out so many plants, weeding, trimming edges and all that sort of stuff. So I will show you what I got done. But I want to prune some of the leaves off my vertical climbing plants. So I did my cucumbers yesterday, just thinning out some of those older leaves because that lets more air flow through, and it's going to help reduce any powdery mildew and stuff like that. So I did my cucumbers. Now I need to go out and do my gourds, so let's go do that. My neighbour's also out mowing his lawn before it gets too hot as well. But this is the cucumber, and it's a cucumber and Malabar spinach on one trellis. So the Malabar spinach is going to be able to grow more all year round as a perennial, and then the cucumber will die off at the end of summer. But I've got some cucumbers, so that's really exciting, and I thinned it out. So I pulled off a whole bunch of the older dead leaves to let more air flow through, and so they don't succumb to powdery mildew. And so far I haven't had any, but I have noticed some spots over on my gourd, so I do want to thin that out as well, so I'll show you that. So this is my gourd trellis, and it's starting to get hot now, so you can see some of the leaves are starting to droop, which they will do throughout the day, and then they will perk back up again once it cools down. So I have this sort of right on the edge of my undercover, so it gets morning light, and then it will be protected from some of the midday hot sun. And these are super long cucuzzas, so I've grown these a few times and I love them. They're sort of like, I guess, similar to a zucchini, but more of a squash. But as you can see, it's pretty thick, it's pretty dense, and some of these leaves are starting to die off, as they kind of naturally do. But I want to get in here and just take out some of these leaves, just so that it lets more air flow through, and so we don't get any powdery mildew. Because I have noticed a few little spots. You can see there's a little spot, and we don't want that. So let's do that. And my compost bin is right here, so it's super easy for me to put everything in. Definitely heating up. The sun is starting to peek through the clouds, and I'm sure the clouds will be gone soon. It's already so hot and bright. I thought I was going to have a little bit more time, but we've got to get this done. Alright, so it's a little bit thinner now, you can kind of see through, but there is a lot on the other side, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm also cutting off pretty much all of the leaves that are on within a foot from the ground, because that's where they're going to get a lot of that moisture from soil being wet. So that's where we end up getting the most risk, I guess, of powdery mildew and other bacterial things, funguses coming from the soil. So I'm going to remove all the leaves on the bottom section, and there's still plenty of leaves here to help produce food for the plant, so but you can see a little bit more gaps through. That's going to help airflow. Pruning can get a little bit addicting, so I need to stop, but yeah, now we've got lots more airflow, so hopefully that will let the plant survive longer enough to get more fruit from. And a bucket for the compost. Alright, so that job is done for the day. I can tick that off the list. I have something else that I have been meaning to do for ages. I need to get my sourdough starter started, because this year was one of my goals was to become, you know, make amazing sourdough loaves, and so far I've made no steps in that direction. So I'm going to do the first starter start today. Okay, so I'm going to get this starter started. I am following a recipe from Mary Grace because she's a pro at sourdough bread and I am not. So I've got my jar, it's nice and clean, and I'm going to weigh it and write down how much the jar weighs, so that when I'm doing my measurements I'll know how much to zero off the jar. Got some flour and some honey. So she does 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of water, and 1/4 teaspoon of honey. And it's important not to use chlorinated water, so I have just got some water that I have previously boiled this morning and it's cooled down now, so I'm going to use that instead of filtered water because I don't have any. Yeah, let's get this started. And now I just need to mix it all together. Okay, so my jar that I'm making it in has this rubber seal on it, and I'm going to remove that because that's going to let some air into my jar and it's not going to be airtight, so oxygen can get in, but no bugs or anything like that. And so now we need to name the starter, and I think I'm really vibing on autumn at the moment. I'm looking forward to autumn. Autumn is coming up this week here in Australia, and I'm going to call my starter Autumn. I feel so accomplished. So I'm going to leave this for 24 hours and then I'm going to stir it again, and then in another 24 hours I will refeed it as per the instructions. So I'll leave a link to the video I watched on Mary's sourdough starting. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Now it is very warm here still in WA in Perth, and so I am going to have no dramas probably getting some activation in that, but if you are in a cooler place you need to put it somewhere warm to bring it to life. I know, let's go take a look out the front because I did a whole lot of work out there taming the New Zealand spinach and the sweet potato, because that has absolutely gone wild. I've been eating a lot. Oh, very bright out here. So I should have taken some befores, but this was all over the path here. So I trimmed it all back, and I've just chucked the offcuts in here because I just like to keep everything in the garden bed, put those nutrients back into the garden. So this is all sweet potato, and we've got a yellow guava here. We've got an office pet over there, look at him, that's his favourite spot. And in here we've got New Zealand spinach or warrigal greens mixed in with sweet potato, even a random turmeric that I must have popped in there. I always find surprises because I put things in random places, which I love. Looking a lot tidier now, less snaky. It was pretty much all over here, which is not ideal. Now these garden beds here, I've pulled out all the zucchini, so there's huge gaps in here now. This one's a little bit wild still. We've got plenty of thyme, basil. This is the cucuzza squash that we just trimmed out the back, and I've got another one here. I was meant to trellis it, but I kind of just forgot about it. So this one's just left to go wild. Some chives that are starting to flower. Another empty garden bed. Very empty garden bed. Sweet potato, a dry jalapeno, and lots of gaps. And then my mandarin's looking good. So got mandarin, and it's sending off lots of new little growth soon. It's so bright, I don't even know if you can see because I definitely can't. But the citrus trees have got lots of fruit on them. I don't even know how they're surviving really. It's so hot and dry out here. As you can see, there's like no grass. But I have been trying to keep on top of giving them water over summer, and they're all sending off new growth. So that's exciting. Some of them, they all pretty much have fruit on them. We've got the blood orange. Now these dead sticks in the middle here I need to get rid of. Those were a peach and a nectarine that I planted last summer that did not make it. The apricot did make it, so we've still got that. This is the rosella, the edible hibiscus, so that will be nice and shrubby here. But I am going to replace these plants in the middle. I'm just not going to do it while it's still so hot, so I'm not planting any fruit trees at the moment. I'm going to wait till autumn, till it's a bit cooler. As you can see, we've got new growth coming. All these fruits that will ripen up over winter. This is the mandarin. And then dead stick. This one is the lemonade, which has definitely struggled, but I cut it back quite a lot because it was just wild, and it's sending off all new growth. So that's a good sign, but it's pretty well loaded. So a new tree for here and here, and the apricot is hanging on. This is the lime. Okay, so it's 1,000,000 degrees today and I'm in the kitchen cooking, which is not ideal, but while I'm waiting for a recipe to cook in the oven, I am pulling off all the individual elderberries to make a syrup or something. I need to get all the little stems off, so it's quite a slow process. Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Homegrown live show and podcast.